Twice, I know, but it's really important. If you don't comply to the law, your system will not be compliant and will not, you will not be able to get, for example, ISO 14001 certification. So you should identify all laws and regulations that apply to that are applicable to your activities. And here, well, this can be quite tedious, and environmental authorities can and should help you. You could maybe call NEPA and say them, all right, my activity is food processing, and could you please tell me what laws and regulations apply to this activity? What should I comply with? What we did already in Toolkit is that, well, actually David, he prepared a very comprehensive list of all laws, regulations, and other standards that, apply to the environment. So you will get it in a toolkit, so it can help you to identify which of those are related, which of those relate to your activities. All right, so we identified the activities, we identified the aspects and the impacts. Now, you should think, okay, what is the objective? What do I want to achieve? And what will be the targets? Objectives should be consistent with the environmental policy, should be realistic and reasonable. And once again, it's better to start with small things and then improve your system than try to be too, well, very exhaustive and not achieve your objectives and targets. I put a short example from Italy, from chemical industry, where you have policy, 3 levels. So policy, objectives, and targets. And the example is, so the policy, what they put is that they will try to prevent and minimize possible environmental health and safety risks for employees, local community, and clients. So the objective is to reduce the air emissions, and the target is to reduce total organic compound in air per ton of product by 10%. So it has to be something that we can measure and then check if we achieve it. So objectives and target will give you an environmental management program or plan. You can meet both names for that, which will include actions that will allow to achieve the objectives. In the third presentation, I will show you a table, just a sample, how the environmental management program can look like. So we will see it later, but you identify your objective, target, actions, resources, deadline, and then you monitor based on that. It can be very simple. All right, so we are still on the first step. We are still planning. So environmental management program. So it's a work plan, your activities, and it defines what, when, how, with which means, and by which dates you would like to achieve. Once again, an example. I will read just the first line, because I'm not sure you can read it from the back of the whole. So the objective: reduce energy consumption. Well, okay, the second one, because I don't want to overlap with Eaton's activities. So the second one: reduce waste generation. Target 50% reduction of waste generation by June 2001. It has to be realistic and measurable. And environmental actions that they decide to implement. First one, avoid small packages. Second one, promote use of glass, metal, returnable and recycling containers. Third one, use of chlorine-free paper. So it gives you, well, the overview of what it should be, the objective, target, and environmental action. All right, so we planned. Now we can implement. Implementation. So the first very important thing is to set up a structure, organization structure, establish a team, and decide who will be responsible of which component. So for example, somebody will have to coordinate and supervise the environmental management program. So there should be one person designated to do so. Second component can be the awareness. Somebody will have to communicate internally and train people, inform them about new procedures, new actions, and so on. Third one can be documentation, because you have to follow up on what you are doing. So you have to keep registers and a number of documents printed still available, just to check, the progress that you are doing and if you are still compliant with what you decided at the beginning. Training awareness, important thing, I mentioned it already. Communication. First of all, communicate internally. All staff should be aware and updated of activities, what's being done and what has been done already and what will be done, because it motivates people also. And being a part of a team can really even increase the productivity, I think, well, my opinion. And I mentioned it already, so there is a set of documents that you have to keep available in your facility. And this is once again taken from the ISO 40001. The standard actually says that you have to have the environmental policy available. So for example, you make a table and you say, okay, environmental policy updated on this day and available in the office of top manager, or I don't know. Then register, you have to keep a register of significant aspects and impacts that you identified, and maybe you already updated them, once you checked your system. The same, environmental management plan has to be available, and maybe even the most important thing, work instructions and procedures. So and actually work instructions and procedures is quite interesting, because you certainly, all facilities have them already. So, it's not really about creating new procedures or instructions. It's more about checking, all right, what could we adjust to make them more environmentally friendly, or, to reduce some negative impacts and so on. So it's more, I believe, about reviewing existing practices. All right, so we are implementing, and what then? We have to check if we are successful. So we monitor and measure our targets. This can be quite complicated if you don't keep records of your, for example, of quantity of solid waste that you generate, that your facility generate, of water intake. You should monitor it on a monthly, let's say, basis, and then it will allow you to monitor the improvement and the progress that you are doing. Very important thing, and this is also from ISO, and it actually helps you to become better and better in your environmental management, is the non-conformance or non-compliance corrective and preventive actions. So every time when you realize during this monitoring phase that something got wrong, something didn't work, something just you didn't achieve the objective and the target, you should just sit and think, all right, why? What is the main reason, and what can we correct, and what can we do in the future to avoid this? Because it can happen. It's a normal. I mean, it should even happen. It means that you're really in, and you are really looking for further improvement. Keeping records. I will not tell more about it. And of course, monitoring. It means also internal audits. So somebody from environmental management team should be, should once a year or once a 6 months. It's up to you. Also, you can decide, what is the frequency of audits. Should go through the facility and check, all points, objectives, targets, actions, what worked well and what wasn't really relevant. All right, so we monitored. So now we act. So now we look once again at our environmental management system and we